proportions as we have PandaTank and HaNfy duking it out. First map will be Daybreak here. Best of threes up until the grand final. I believe we're going to be showing a game from each round. So round of 16, round of 8, round of 4. Then we'll be showing the third place decider, then the grand final from there on. So 5 series of Starfield action on the way here from the ESWC. And for now, we're just waiting for HaNfy and PandaTank to get loaded up into our first map. Just to give you a little bit of a rundown as to what else is going on in the brackets. We have right now, I don't know if the brackets have been fully updated, but we have Tomicus versus Harstem, 4GG versus Minimath, Hawk versus Neo Angel, Squirtle versus Sortov, which is going to be a pretty darn good match in itself, Titan versus Mana, Bly versus Targa, HaNfy versus PandaTank, and Stefano versus Johnny Rico. All in that order of where they actually occur in the bracket. So, Stefano has found himself quite lucky in the sense that he is on the other side of the bracket as all the other Koreans, so he will only meet them in the final if that does occur. It's handy for Mr. Stefano, the reigning champion of the ESWC. So, guys, without further ado, let's jump on into our first series here. And briefly bear with me, there we go. As we do have Mr. Alien Invasion's HaNfy going to be spawning up in the top right-hand corner here as our blue Zerg. And spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, we have PandaTank going to be spawning here as our green Protoss. Now, PandaTank in general, going up against HaNfy, has a lot of uphill struggles ahead of him. HaNfy, in terms of ZVP nowadays, is an extremely formidable foe, as he has been able to crush through so many very strong Protosses through the entire duration of his rise to prominence in the German scene. Very, very occasionally and very, very often, HaNfy will find himself very, very strong wins against people such as HaSuObs, and people like HaSuObs just in general are known as some of the big powerhouses of the German scene. HaNfy, just in general, demolishes these people, as much as I hate to say it for HaSuObs, and I'm glad he's not in the studio just yet because he's going to be doing an ISNG later on, which is a tournament in our studio, so yeah, glad he's not hearing me. But basically, yeah, HaNfy kind of has people like Hasu's number. So just in general, PandaTank doesn't play quite like HaSuObs. A lot of PandaTank strategies are very like gateway heavy onto third base, or gateway heavy third base and then push with something like, very, very heavy Immortal play. Not necessarily mixing in too many Colossi, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw PandaTank here kind of mix it up and add on a lot of Colossi in order to be able to really get out that standard composition and try and hit the timing just before his opponent actually manages to get to Hive Tech, or at least gets to the Greater Spire. Now, PandaTank in day 1 exhibited quite a bit of that action. He was keeping a very, very good eye on when his Zerg opponents were going for things like Hive Tech and Spire Tech. So I'm really looking out for that from PandaTank here. And it served him really well yesterday, to be honest with you. He was able to beat Dimaga very, very handily with such tactics. And anyway, so for now, PandaTank here just taking his double gas geysers. Third will be on the way in just a second here for HaNfy as well. And interesting fun fact, my girlfriend had actually come to the office with me, but she decided that she would leave the straighteners on at her house, so at my apartment even, so she's now gone home to turn them off. Aha! So, for all I know, my entire apartment could have burnt down, but it's okay. So, fantastic. Fantastic. So that's what she's up to right now. Filling the void here whilst this probe runs away. And actually will get away by the looks of things. Oh no, it didn't start recharging shields. So there's the potential that this might actually not get away here. Oh no, it started restarting charging shields. So it will indeed get away. Normally, there's weird dynamics. Like sometimes 2 Zerglings can actually hunt it down depending on their starting position. But more often than not, 2 Zerglings cannot kill a probe when chasing it across the map, because of when the shields actually start recharging. So, for now, we do have just Queens on the way. Hatchery's going to be finishing up in just a little bit at this third location. And meanwhile, PandaTank, when does he throw his Robo down, if at all? And also, when does he get his third and fourth gas geysers? all of this is going to really be telling us what he's going to want to do here. When does he stop pro production, for example? What does he chrono boost out of his robo facility? He's setting up pylons here just to probably throw down a robo either. Meow or meow. And, I mean, technically he still has options. He could quite easily go for a Stargate play. But in my opinion right now, it's less likely here. He's just getting out a lot of sentries. And for now, we have 5 drones on the way for HaNfy. So he's rocketing up to 45, 46, 47 drones in just a second. Whilst we still have PandaTank trawling around at 40. He's adding on 2 more. And interestingly enough, he's going to go for a super quick third here in relation to what you would normally see. And he's going to wall this off by the looks of things with just gateways. So, pretty interesting little choice here from PandaTank. He's going to be playing somewhat risky. If Zerg ends up getting a whiff of that third, they could potentially punish it, because right now he only has PandaTank only has 1 gateway's worth of production. So PandaTank here needs to build a really nice wall with photon cannons to keep this in place and make sure that his opponent isn't going to be able to punish it. HaNfy is one of the players that can punish this quite frequently. He's going up to layer, getting that Roach War on just 1 single evolution chamber right now, and he's not on too much gas just yet. So it's looking to me as if he might get aggressive with roaches. But he has the 4th gas geyser. Where was that? Was that 4th gas geyser? It's somewhere. Okay, it's there. Sorry. Okay, so meanwhile, back at home, HaNfy, PandaTank even, is actually going for hallucination. Because his robo facility is so delayed, he wants to know what his opponent is doing in terms of tech. So getting a robo facility out at this point could be a little bit delayed in comparison to hallucination that only takes 80 seconds. Robo facility and observer in turn take a little bit longer than this. So you really, really, really want to know exactly what your opponent's doing pretty quickly. And because you have so many sentries stocked up at this early point in time, then getting this down isn't too bad an idea. Just getting this hallucination to send over Phoenix to spot exactly what's on the way. And for now, the Phoenix is going to traverse the map. Zerglings will spot this, and I'm wondering as to whether or not this will force a reaction. It shouldn't do. He should know that this is a hallucination. Now he knows it's a hallucination because it doesn't do any damage. So HaNfy is actually going to poke forwards at this location. Only now just sees this wall, so has to start nibbling away at it, but there's already sentries on the way there. And meanwhile, Infestation Pit as well as 2nd Evolution Gem going down for HaNfy. So HaNfy here, just crushing out his very, very standard build. He's happy to sit back and macro. He's happy to just transition onto his very, very big macro play and big, long game. Because that's where Zergs feel really comfortable, of course. And I really need a tissue. I'm so sorry. But anyway. So, for now, we have Blinker +2 on the way here, along with the Robo Facility. PandaTank is actually being scouted quite methodically here by HaNfy, as he's actually seen literally everything apart from the 10th Twilight Council. But that's really not too big a deal there at this point. He knows that on a 3-base play, Protoss is very, very likely to be having a Twilight Council pretty soon. So, for now, HaNfy just throwing down a ton of Spine Crawlers, keeping his 4th well active, as he does have those double gases taken here. 4 guys on that gas, though, so he needs to transition 1 guy out of there in just a second. But yeah, the fact that he has the 7th and 8th gas guys are now up and running means that he can just make a ton of infestors, get his hive up and running, get that spire going down pretty darn soon after that. And from this point on, feel very, very comfortable. And then there we go, there's the hive on the way. Interestingly enough, did the Phoenix see that? You got just a bare glimpse of it. And where's the spire going down? Is that the spire? Wow, what an interesting place to put the spire. I kind of like it, because if PandaTank doesn't click on that, he's just thinking, well, it's a spine or a spore crawler, right? But it's actually not. Oops. Okay, so for now, we will have Dark Shrine on the way here for PandaTank. PandaTank, meanwhile, just getting all these gateways going, up and running. We have 16 Stalkers out right now, as well as 1 more Prism, which is looking to do some damage here. PandaTank has to transition onto a 4th base and somehow get himself in a supply, I think, equalization here with the Zerg. Otherwise, he he runs the risk of just getting run over. HaNfy's basically setting himself up to actually push through the middle of the map with creep tumors, with spines, with broodlords and infestors, to the point where it makes it so difficult for PandaTank to actually engage into. Right now, 5 spines going down once again, as well as those infestors. This is a very risky thing for PandaTank to be doing, pushing out into this middle location. As right now, I don't really know this is going to go too well. He tries to do what damage he can. He kills a few spines, and he will get 1 or 2 of these infested Terrans for his troubles, but that's really not that much. Yes, Zerg lost more than HaNfy, than PandaTank in these engagements, but ultimately, HaNfy's mined more than his opponent, so he's happy to lose a little bit here as long as he can hold it off. PandaTank right now just does not have the damage capabilities to put the pressure on, whilst he knows that his opponent's getting a hive out. And, I mean, PandaTank's running the risk here of just falling too far behind. He doesn't really have too many ways of actually putting on the pressure from this point on. He's just trying to rely on this blink play to really keep him steady in this mid-game. And the Roaches and Infested Terrans, as well as Infestors, are just going to punish this. He's going to go for some harassment in the back, which is a really nice position for PandaTank to actually be in. I think he'd get this hatchery if he wanted to. Oh, but he's just going to leave it for now. HaNfy, I don't think he knows about this right now. PandaTank still keeping his opponent preoccupied at the front. Meanwhile, the DTs are just going to waddle in. And he's separating them quite nicely here. He can get a few kills quite quickly here. Zerglings interrupt that for just a second. And meanwhile, we have Dark Templar being very annoying there. But at the same time, I mean, he's trying to crush through here with all these Stalkers. And actually, you know, HaNfy's being kind of stretched a bit here. I'm kind of surprised by this. Blink Stalkers alone are stretching his opponent at the front. He's used a lot of energy on all of these Infestors to the point where that's not really that cost-effective. Wow. PandaTank's Blink play is actually really strong here. And look at this, though. The DTs have actually killed off this base. HaNfy might just crumble a little bit. Right now, PandaTank's limiting his opponent's income by just a bit here. And there are Zealots warping in. There's not that much energy. In fact, there's no energy left on these Infestors for actual fungal growth potential to lock this entire army down. And right now, the DTs do get cleaned up in the back, but he actually just blinks forwards here, trying to catch some of those Infestors. They do burrow in time, though. Nice play by HaNfy, keeping them alive. And meanwhile, PandaTank has to fall back once again to the safety of this high ground. How is he making this work? This is insanity. He's mixing some DTs with this now as well, but they're not going to fare too well as long as those Overseers are actually in place. Mobs them into Archons now, seeing the Overseers. He could have actually sniped those 2 out maybe with the Stalkers. One volley a pop would have killed them off. And he still wants some more Stalkers here. HaNfy is in trouble. I mean, he has his Great Aspire, but he has no means... Well, I mean, he doesn't have the lava to actually morph in Corruptors and keep dealing with this. Is PandaTank actually going to win with this timing? This is actual... like... When I saw... Okay, so I'll be honest. When I saw him pushing forwards with this composition, I was like, not being too hyped because I didn't think it was going to work. But actually, PandaTank somehow grabs the GG in game number 1. Oh my god. What? It just happened. Okay. To me, that was slightly weird. But PandaTank made it work. I cannot believe... I'm a little bit in shock right now. Okay, guys. Big thank you for joining me here for the ESWC day number 2, round of 16. My name is Kyle Aris, the official caster of ESL TV. And we are in PandaTank versus HaNfy as PandaTank manages to take an extremely weird game number 1. Yeah, so I'll be back in just a sec with game number 2, guys. Don't go anywhere. All right, guys, getting loaded up into game number 2 here. I was talking to Mana during the break just then, and I think he was as surprised as I was at that result. He says to me, wait a minute, let me just give you the lowdown as to what he was saying. Okay, so I was like, yeah, it was weird. I was surprised HaNfy lost. He's like, I just saw that he was moving forwards with Stalker Sentry versus 3,219,210 Infestors and Spines. Yeah, and then 3 DTs avoiding 5th base. Yeah, if HaNfy was smart enough to wait with Fungals, he would have won. Yeah, of course. Like, that's just... I couldn't believe that many Infestors actually lost against that. Well, anyway. So, guys, let me just get my scoreboard up and running and good to go. As we do have PandaTank 1-0, 1-0 currently in this series. So, once again, a big thank you for joining me here for the ESWC round of 16. As we now go to Alien Invasion's HaNfy spawning down in the bottom right-hand corner here as our pink Zerg. And spawning up to the top left-hand corner, we have PandaTank going to be spawning here as our green Protoss. I genuinely am a little bit shocked and perplexed that occurred, but it did. And now we are on to game number 2 here. PandaTank 1-0 ahead. He only has to win once more to advance on to the round of 8, where his opponent will be... I want to say either Stefano or Johnny Rico, if I can remember the brackets correctly. I'll check after, though. So, for now, we have spawning pool on the way for HaNfy. Standard. PandaTank pokes forward, sees exactly what's going on. It really seems that PandaTank's been working... I mean, pardon my French, but I mean, it's apt because we're casting the ESWC, but it seems like he's been working his ass off in terms of actually improving and just finding ways in... Because... in theory, I think the majority of PandaTank's games this tournament thus far have been versus Zerg. And he's been able to take out people like Tamaga already. And now he's on the route to beat one of Germany's, in theory, because HaNfy won the previous EPS, Germany's best player, in inverted commas, in the form of HaNfy. So, right now, this is looking a little sketchy for HaNfy here. HaNfy has to pull it back. And again, guys, don't forget that we will be casting 1 game from the round of 16, 1 game from the round of 8, 1 game from the round of 4. Then we'll be casting a 3rd place match and then the final. So that's your schedule for today. Technically speaking, once again, there's supposed to be an hour and a half. Like, a series starts and then an hour and a half after another series begins, and then an hour and a half after another series begins. So hopefully our schedule will hold today. We'll see. As for now, we do have just gases going down for PandaTank, completing that wall off, getting the cannon after gateway for that tech advantage, or slight tech approval. And for now, HaNfy just chilling out, getting his expansion up and running. We have a 3rd up and running as well in just a bit. PandaTank spotting that, though, so really nice scouting here from PandaTank just in general. And we have Cybernetics Core being added to this wall, actually. So, well, he's put both of his pylons down here. So he really can't add it anywhere else, I guess. So for now, what are we going to see from HaNfy? I'm anticipating just once again a big solid macro game from HaNfy. HaNfy going into that last engagement, I mean, Mana said it perfectly to me before. Just, if he'd have, you know, not wasted a ton of energy on infested Terrans, which, I mean, that's technically what PandaTank was doing. He was saying, I'm going to force field you here. The only thing you can really do to try and buffer my damage from those Stalkers onto your Roaches is by throwing down infested Terrans, because your Infestors are slightly out of range. And then from that point on, it's a case of, well, I have to throw down infested Terrans because they're going to buffer the damage. But once the infested Terrans go down, PandaTank just walks back to the safety of not something, you know, just his side of the map, in essence. And he just kept doing that and kept doing that and kept doing that to the point where the Infestors had very little energy to eventually fungal growth. But not only that, but also PandaTank was doing a pretty darn good job of his Blink Micro as well. When he wasn't locked in place by fungal growths, though a few that did end up going down, then he felt very, very comfortable with his Blink Micro to save a lot of his Stalkers in turn. So he was getting such cost-effective trades off there against the units that are normally one of the most cost-effective units in the game, in the form of the Infestors. So right now, we have the Robe of Silty on the way for PandaTank. And elsewhere, just +1. Not necessarily being tied up too much with the warp gates. So, I mean, he technically could Chrono Boost that to tie it up quite nicely if he wanted to go for some gateway pressure. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an Immortal. And he starts an Observer. Gaster's Curse, whatever. So, I mean, he had the 4 Gasters, but he's not actually mining as profusely from them as I would have expected. So, it wouldn't have made too much sense now that I look at it. And now that I saw that there was only 2 guys in each of those gas geysers. So, it's just going to be an Observer to kick things off. Probably will end up going for some kind of expansion play off the back of that, especially if he goes for another Observer. Bum, bum, bum. There we go. Yep, so expansion play abound here for PandaTank. And PandaTank, once again, with this double forge play that he keeps using against Zergs in this tournament. And it's worked out really, really nicely for him each time he's done it. Because he ends up with 3-3-1. He starts his shield weapons as Zergs are going up to like 2-2. And Zergs don't necessarily know how to play against a double forge Protoss right now, I don't think. It almost seems as if, because, I mean, how do you really deal with that? Do you say, well, I sure hope he's going double forge and get a lot of gas and a double evolution chamber early, like really, really quickly, just in anticipation? Because if you go for the double evolution chamber at the same time as they're going double forge, you're never going to stay toe-to-toe with the Protoss. They're chrono boosting the hell out of those double forges. So PandaTank here, I mean, he sees everything that's going on. He sees Macro Hatch, he sees Leia, sees Evolution Chamber, sees Roach Warren. He sees just a single Evolution Chamber right now, which gives PandaTank the creditation and the reason and the will to just say, well, double forges, hey, I'm just going to go for double upgrades, secure myself a 3rd base, and quite happily chill out. Now, PandaTank does see the creep, changeling. And meanwhile, he has his Warp Prism with Stalker Harassment actually heading around to the 3rd base. I'm surprised this wasn't spotted by the Overseer, but apparently not. And for now, just a ton of Roaches piling out with Roach weapons upgrades. So it looks like HaNfy might just get super aggressive 200 max very, very quickly here against this. But PandaTank's going to see all these Roaches and be like, wait a minute, why do you have all those Roaches? And he's going to just continuously pump out Immortals, try and secure this base, create some nice SimCity at this location, and if he can hold against what we're seeing from HaNfy here in the mid-game, then he has amazing transitionary methods onto the late game. Because he's going to be 2-1 ahead, effectively, of a Zerg who is just committing to range upgrades, and when it hits the mid-late game, then it gets to the point where Zerg's like, oh, well, actually, this range upgrade isn't that useful. I need melee upgrades, right? But he's not going to have them. So, PandaTank here, if he holds, he's going to be in an amazing spot. But if HaNfy can somehow punish, if he can somehow get in, he's going to be in a sick position as well. Right now, just trying to shock around. HaNfy's setting up a good location here to deny his opponent from actually getting damage done. And force fields are going to go down. There's actually not as many Roaches here as I assumed there was, but 30 Immortal is going to rendezvous with this pretty quickly. And this army is the same kind of army that you would see from a 2-base all-in. So basically this army is the Roachling Buster here. And with force fields, he's going to shoo HaNfy off pretty easily. And look at the supply counts. 170 right now to 141. HaNfy, unless he can do damage with this right now, I kind of feel for him. Yes, he's getting the Infestation Pit behind this, but there's 3-2 on the way for the Protoss army against 2-0 of what we're seeing from PandaTank right now, and he's not getting his melee upgrades. This is going to get, this is going to get sickening if it's, because even if he just sticks with Roach Infester, he's building a very strong Immortal composition to deal with that. And even if he has +2 weapons on Roaches, yes, so what? It doesn't really matter too much. Oh, but if he could pick off that would be really big. Oh, he's going to get it. Oh, that's a nice move there by HaNfy. Oh, HaNfy with a pimp play. Killing that Forge off. He really needs to limit his opponent's upgrades. And now, I mean, with seeing that Forge as well, I mean, he obviously knew there was a Forge in the wall as well, but he just got confirmation that his opponent was indeed on double Forge. Nice force fields here, actually, though he's splitting in some of those Roaches. He's actually trapped a lot of them in here as well. He doesn't have many force fields left over to continue this defense. But as long as the Infestors, as long as the Immortals can continue to power out against the Roaches, he should be okay. He should be able to stabilize, and he is getting the third base behind this. PandaTank is playing pretty darn well here, but still. I mean, look, it's 103 supply to 129. And right now the Zealots are going to town on the main here of HaNfy. If he gets that Infestation Pit. Yes, he's got Pathogen Glands and he's getting 5 Infestors out, but if he gets the Infestation Pit, that's going to be huge. And the fact that he has +2 weapons and +1 armor makes it so difficult for those Zerglings to clean it up, and he does get the Infestation Pit. HaNfy is being run ragged here by PandaTank. And this is just getting out of control. I'm not joking. This is getting out of control right now. PandaTank is on the verge of eliminating HaNfy here. I mean, it's a little too early to call. And to be fair, I mean, I'm friends with both of these players, so I was anticipating HaNfy to actually come out on top in this series. But apparently not. Apparently PandaTank is the Zerg buster. As for now, PandaTank, he saw the Infestors waddling out, so he knows how many his opponent has right now. He's taking up to a second Robo as well as Robo Bay, so he is going to be primed here to start cranking out double Colossus production on 3 base as he stabilizes his economy and competes with the Zerg here. Unit counting station, 77 probes to 71 drones. HaNfy, I'm really surprised he committed to a Roachling kind of mid-game timing there to shut down his opponent's third base and maybe shut down his opponent's army. But right now, he's being busted. I'm not joking. HaNfy right now, he has a mountain to climb here. He's going to take a little bit of a sway ahead of PandaTank in terms of the supply. But once the macro kicks in for PandaTank, I mean, you might think I'm overstating this, but it's there's double Colossus production going on right now, and there's not a Spire down. This is one of the big problems that HaNfy has right now. He just saw a Colossus there. Just that split second saw a Colossi. So now he instantly starts the Spire, which obviously was going to occur. And starts his layer. But does PandaTank? PandaTank knows the Hive is now morphing in. I mean Hive, not layer, herb derp. But he knows the Hive is morphing in once again. He's continuing this harassment. Oh my good god, actually a huge engagement going down. A ton of infested Terrans, but they're being roasted up quite quickly. There's not that many more units to complement this. As soon as these infested Terrans go down from these Colossi, then he's really not going to have too much to push forwards. Once again, it's 180 supply to 128 here. HaNfy is genuinely on the verge of being completely eliminated by PandaTank. And PandaTank will march on victoriously and triumphantly to the round of 8. After a very well-played series. A very well-played game 2. Right now, he has 3 Colossi. If he just waits for these extra 2 Colossi to come along and push out, whilst his opponent's trying to transition, I think he just wins. He's getting Blink. He's got 3-2-1 upgrades in comparison to the Lings, 1-1. In comparison to the Infested Terrans, 2-0. Or 2-1 even. +2 melee weapons is going to finish soon, but these Zerglings are not going to have any way, shape, or form of actually getting an engagement with 5 Colossi out on the field. This engagement, PandaTank's going to hit max in just a second. He's going to even expand off the back of this. And HaNfy is looking down and out. He's starting his Corruptors. He's getting 12 Corruptors. That actually could be the saving grace right now of him if he somehow manages to kill off these Colossi. And thankfully for HaNfy, there's not that many Stalkers out. So technically he could do. But HaNfy right now needs to deal with this. He needs to not take too many losses when this force pushes out here. And, I mean, these spines are going to go down pretty darn rapidly. There's the Dark Shrine going down behind this as well for PandaTank. PandaTank is on the verge of dealing crippling damage. Depending on whether these Corruptors can get over here in time, depending on if he can focus them down in time. He actually blinks back with his Stalkers here. The Corruptors are coming in from all angles, and they're going to kill off these Colossi, along with the Fungal Growths. HaNfy here getting a really nice defense off. But he throws down a lot of infested Terrans, which aren't going to be any use in terms of chasing this down. The Corruptors will continue their pursuit, though, and the more Stalkers are on the way. He needs to bring down the Corruptors here if he wants these Colossus to stay alive and kind of take him the victory in this engagement. Right now, 58 workers to 84. So PandaTank still has that fantastic economy behind this. But there you go. GG, well played, ladies and gentlemen. PandaTank advances on to the round of 8. Oh my good God. Wow. Okay, so guys, that is going to do it for our round of 16 by the looks of things. I will end up looking at the brackets. Give me a second here. Give me a second as we will quickly and swiftly, hopefully. Please say the brackets have been updated on Team Liquid. No, they haven't. Balls. Okay, so guys, I'll be back in just a little bit. I'll give you an update as to the brackets once I have an update on them. And also, I'll give you an update on our overlay as to what match we're going to be seeing next. So big thank you for joining me for the ESWC day number 2. My name is Kyle Laris, and we are moving on to the round of 8 swiftly here. And I'll be back in just a bit. Cheers.
Sur la commode.